You don't think I know that, Frank? Yeah, I understand. That was the video we made yesterday. There was some clarification needed. There's people that maybe took some things out of context, didn't really understand. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. Look, am I live already?
You take the card and put it in the sleeve.
Yeah, I get it. All right, edit this part out. What's going on, sports card hobby family? How we doing? It is another day. It is another sports card video. We are back again. We're going to do kind of a back-to-back. I thought it'd be good. This topic yesterday got a lot of great comments, and so I wanted to kind of have a back-to-back video to clarify a couple of things and, just kind of talk through this even more. I think it's an important topic. I had a great comment from Chris yesterday that basically mentioned this is, hey, this is basically the big question. This is that $1 million question for people that are collecting a lot of the modern, ultra-modern serial numbered cards. Before I get started, big shout out to today's video sponsor, DC Sports 87. Maybe you're thinking about selling on eBay, but you don't want to deal with the hassle of packing and shipping each individual thing. What if there's a return? All you have to do, shoot it off to DC Sports 87 and handle all that business for you. And they track everything live on their website. So as auctions end and people pay, you can see exactly what's going on. And one business day payout. So you request payout, whether it be PayPal or bank account or whatever it is, check. And it's one business day, they process it, it's coming to you. So it's a very quick turnaround time. Check out DC Sports 87. All right, so yesterday I made a video about serial numbered cards, and are we looking at this the wrong way? And rightfully so. The last couple of years especially, we have seen an increase in the number of parallels that have come out. It's like parallel Armageddon. Like the companies are like print, print, print. Especially with Panini, it feels that way. And maybe it is because, hey, look, licenses are ending and it's just about making money at this point. I do understand that sentiment. And especially too, if you look at 2022 Prism Football, throw up the checklist, please, Frank. You can see here that there is a lot of extra parallels that have come out of the woodwork. You've got even snakeskin. I love this. Snakeskin parallels. I don't own any of these, but I want to buy one just for the fact that it's snakeskin. There's also Orange Crush, or is it Orange Ice and Green Ice? It sounds like a Slush Puppies commercial.
Puppies, fruit flavors, so slushy, so delicious, so refreshing.
Yesterday I was really zeroed in on Tom Brady and Drew Brees are really kind of the guys that I focus on with these sorts of products, with these kind of parallels and what I'm looking at, trying to decipher what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. Price point and player are really the number one consideration. So, I titled this 95% of sports cards are probably going to zero numbered sports cards. This is really true across the board though. So whether we're talking about serial numbered or base cards, 95% of current athletes that are playing, their cards are declining in value. There is definitely a drive it off the lot decrease, just like with new cars, that happens with new card products. You buy that new product, you're all excited about that new set. And even if it's Prism or if it's, Panini One or whatever it is, typically for the majority of players, their prices are going to decrease over time because you've got the excitement of that player. And then eventually, even if that player has a good career, we've seen this with a lot of players. How many players have had great careers? Chris Mullin. How many Dream Team players? You go back to like 1992 Dream Team basketball. How many of those all-time greats, Hall of Famers, really are hobby irrelevant, or their cards just never really took off? There's a lot of instances. In baseball, even with all the baseball card collectors, there's plenty of guys like this too that have had great careers, but you look at their pricing compared to the new prospect, the new shiny thing, and it doesn't add up. That's why always people are talking about this. This is a constant talking point among card collectors of why is this happening? Why is Mookie Betts priced like this and Jason Dominguez is priced like that or whatever? It's always the huge debate. So when someone is commenting and says like, hey, look, all this stuff is going to be sitting in a dollar bin at some point, you're easily able to make that point because 95% of players' cards aren't going to work out. 95% of players, they might have a couple good years, few years, whatever. They're not going to be an all-time great and they're not going to be a GOAT. Most players, we're talking about 95% of players that have cards. So really the first considerations are who's the player, what is the price point? I can understand pushback on his stuff based on just pricing. So maybe you might think like, hey, look, I know that a lot of Brady stuff have come down in price over the last 18 months. There are exceptions to the rule, of course. There's plenty of his stuff that's also up. But overall, Tom Brady's market has come down, which is why I've been looking to kind of double down and triple down on Tom Brady's stuff. And if it continues to kind of slide down some of the stuff, I want to do that over time. That's really kind of the GOAT that I am focusing on. That's the one I've chosen as the one that I want to focus in over time. I feel like I'm too late on Michael Jordan. I feel like I'm too late on Babe Ruth or, some of these other all-time greats, Mickey Mantle. I don't know if it's a great time to get into Mickey Mantle cards. So Tom Brady for me, even though he did see huge ups over the last few years, he has retraced back a lot of stuff. And so I'm looking at all sorts of different options for his. I do understand, hey, look, if you still think, this is still overinflated, that's a fair criticism. If you look at, the gold prisms, for him, I was looking those up, gold prisms for Drew Brees might be $300-$400 numbered out of 10 for some of these newer products. Whereas gold prisms for Tom Brady are like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. You're talking about a huge premium for Brady. A lot of the money has risen up to, to the GOAT, and for good reason. I mean, look, Drew Brees is never going to have the same sort of collector base or just relevance in sports that Tom Brady has. He's just not going to. Aaron Rodgers isn't. Brees isn't. These guys are just not at that level. So it makes sense that there's a discrepancy there. Look at Michael Jordan, 86 Fleer. Michael Jordan is here. Everybody else is down here. Even all-time greats. Hakeem Olajuwon is an all-time great player. His rookie card isn't anywhere close to where Jordan's is. And look at all the great players, from that set. So it's just a weird thing that happens in the hobby that we've seen, but that's just the way that it works. I was listening to Dan the Card Man and Steve Splenda were talking about this. They were having an interesting discussion. I caught the replay of their live stream. They were talking about gold prisms in particular, and I'm not someone that says, look, gold prisms are everything. I'm not. I'm fairly new to the gold prism game, frankly. I've been picking up Derek Carr gold prisms because they're inexpensive. I don't have Tom Brady gold prisms. I probably never will. They're just very expensive. But I thought that what they were talking about was interesting because I feel like some of their conversation was going a little bit too far to the other side, where they're basically saying, the way that I heard it anyway, and Dan did say, hey, if you want to talk about this, debate on this, then we should do it. So I might actually take Dan up on that because I think it's a fun debate because it is, like Chris had mentioned in the comments yesterday, it's the huge question for everybody with modern, ultra modern cards, really everything from, 2012 to now over the last 10 years. You're looking at a lot of this numbered stuff and you're thinking like, what is this going to look like in 10, 15, 20, 25 years? I think that Prism is going to hold up. I think that there's enough nostalgia here. I think there's a lot of people that have been chasing that particular set. I do think that gold Prisms are going to hold up, especially if you go back in time a little bit. I understand that if I look at 2022 football product, there are a lot of new unnumbered parallels. A lot of new unnumbered ones and numbered ones. There's like a Pandora Prism out of 400 or something. I've never heard of that. So you've got more parallels, but the one thing that stays fairly constant is you've got gold out of 10, and I saw there's like green out of 8 and green out of 5. There's some extra things that they've thrown in there too, and then black finite out of 1. They're one of ones. So, Prism though, I think is going to hold up. That's my guess. That's, again, and I'm not sitting here trying to say that I know everything and I know the future. This is just my opinion that I'm throwing out there into the universe. If you have the opinion that none of the Panini stuff is going to hold up, there's a case to be made for that too. That's okay. I don't think that you're a terrible person if you think that the Prism stuff isn't going to hold up or the Panini stuff isn't going to hold up. It's okay to disagree. But where I disagreed with them is they were kind of saying like, hey, if there's 20 years of gold Prisms, is it rare? Is it important? I still think yes. I still think that's 200 of them. I think Steve Splenda said I could understand that first year Prism, which first year Prism, we watched a Tom Brady. I think it was a BGS 9.5. What a monster card that was. I didn't see where it ended. It was a golden auction or heritage auction, I think. It was sitting at like $65,000 with, days left on the auction. So right now, as it sits, there is a high demand for gold Prism stuff. Now, again, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. And also, what do they do production-wise? Will they continue on that path of, are there a bunch of different variations of gold Prism? I recently went outside of the box a little bit and I got a gold Shimmer. So this is the other one. So there's true gold and there's gold Shimmer. I thought the card was cool looking for Carr. It was $120. Again, the Tom Brady version of this would be in the thousands of dollars.
The Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing.
Also, especially with all the lawsuit stuff with Panini, I just don't know if Prism's going to carry on in the same way. Maybe Panini continues to make unlicensed gold Prisms and that sort of thing. I still think, though, it's going to be this stuff that is the important stuff moving forward down the road. So yes, maybe Panini is still making unlicensed football product. I don't know. Or they're not making any of it. And then what? You know, if it stops there and people will say, well, oh yeah, well, there will be Topps versions. There will be a Topps Chrome version. And then they'll do the same thing. They'll have a zillion different parallels. I do understand that, but again, I almost kind of hope Prism ends in that sense, to where I can just focus on, you know, the 10, 11 years, 12 years that they've built out card sets. That makes it a lot easier for me, as opposed to 20 years, 20 plus years of continuously looking. And it kind of looks like that's going to be the case, or it's going to be the unlicensed stuff, kind of like what Panini is doing for baseball now, which is popular, but it's not going to be near as popular as their licensed stuff. And so that's what I'm really focused in on. And if you go back in time a little bit, 2017, 16, 15, 14, 13, far less parallels. Like I said, I think the nostalgia is built in for this decade of Panini Prism. Now, if you want to go outside of Prism, Flawless is another thing I think is going to hold up, other than some of this player worn, stuff that over the last few years, unless Fanatics does the same thing. What happens if Fanatics does the same thing and they've got player-worn, event-worn stuff? They might very well do that. Will Optic hold up? Will Select hold up? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But not all Panini product, I don't think, is going to hold up over time, and that's okay. That's pretty similar with the card market in general. You've got older sets, Pacific and Wild Card, some of that older stuff from the early 2000s. It's got some demand. Much of it hasn't really held up over time unless it's in high grade, or something like that. This is going to be an interesting debate, but I think the main thing I wanted to and I thought it was fairly obvious, is that it doesn't necessarily mean that all players, are going to be relevant in gold. It's all going to be price points for different things. If the player is a massive player, if they're an all-time great, then I do think that it holds up. But I think that there can be both of these things. I think that there's certain serial numbered cards that are going to hold up over time, but just like a lot of folks are saying, there is going to be a ton of serial numbered parallel type stuff for players that are no longer playing, no longer hobby relevant, that slowly over time, or quickly over time if their career ends, that are going to be sitting in dollar boxes. There's also Tom Brady and Drew Brees cards that are sitting in dollar boxes too. So I think that the dollar boxes are going to be full of a lot of different things. There's going to be probably graded cards that are sitting in dollar boxes, if not already. That's just part of it. That's part of the hobby, though. That's always been the case. Going all the way back, you're going to have excitement around a player that comes into the league, and slowly over time, it does fade, and prices do move down on that player, and then it starts all over again with the hype of a new player. We've seen that. We have seen that people are going to just zero in on the new shiny thing, and that is perfectly okay. I think a lot of people play the short-term game. It's fun. That's part of the hobby fun. All right, guys, just wanted to clarify a little bit from yesterday's video, and maybe we'll have some more discussions, maybe with a Dan, the card man, or some of these other folks that want to discuss. I'm not sitting here saying that I know and I'm right. Maybe I can learn some things from other people as well. I'm always open to constructive debate. And like we were saying, nobody knows. Nobody knows how this is going to shake out. I could be right on this. I could be very wrong. Others could be right. Others could be wrong. That's the fun of the thing. All right, stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.